Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we are going to discuss about tuple in Python. Here are the list of the items that we are going to discuss in today's video. To get started with, we will first discuss what is a tuple in Python and why do we need it, followed by how do we represent a tuple in Python with some examples. We will also discuss about the various operations that you can perform on tuple, for example accessing the tuple item, reversing the access, accessing a range of items in a tuple, as well as identifying the tuple length. Then we will look into what happens when we try to add an item into a tuple. We will also see what happens when we try to delete or remove an item from tuple. Then we will see how to check if an item is present in a tuple, followed by the topic that how we can merge two tuples together to form a third tuple. Finally, we will also discuss about the homework, which is related to the topic that we discussed today. You must be wondering what is a tuple in Python and why do we need it. So to answer this, a tuple is somewhat similar to a list in Python. The only difference is that the tuples are immutable. So it's also an ordered collection of items, but the main thing is it's immutable and you cannot update or delete any item from a tuple. It's somewhat similar to the list. You can use it interchangeably with the list, and these are used in place of list to prevent any accidental updation or deletion of the items. Moving on to the next item, which is how do we represent a tuple in Python. So I will show you a small example here just to make you understand how a tuple is represented in Python. So a tuple is written within brackets like this. So if I want to have name and age as two items, then this particular format represents a tuple, and I can also store it into a variable, say for example personal data. So my personal data variable is now storing a tuple with the strings name and age. So this is a very simple example of a tuple getting stored into variable named personal underscore data. So if I hover on this particular variable, you can see that it says the type of the variable is tuple. Moving on to the next item, we will discuss the various operations that we can perform on tuple. The first operation that we can perform is to access an item from a tuple. So in my previous step, I have already declared a variable personal underscore data with some values name and age. So this is our example tuple, and I am going to access the first item of this particular tuple and print it onto my console. So let's see how this is done. The syntax is somewhat similar to what we did in our list tutorial. So I will write the variable name followed by the square brackets followed by the index which I want to fetch. So if you remember from our list tutorial, the item in the list started from the index 0, and it's the same case in tuple as well. So this first item here has an index 0 followed by age which has an index 1. So if I want to print this first item, I have to access it using the index 0. And finally, if I want to display it into the console, I have to put it inside the print block. And now if I execute this, you should be able to see the output name here in the console, which is as expected. Now we move on to the next example, which is to reverse the access, which means we want to find the last item from this tuple, which is the age. To do that, I will first go to the tuple variable, which is personal underscore data, followed by the square brackets and then the negative indexing. And if I print it, you should be able to get the last item in the tuple. So if you notice, the syntax is almost the same as what we did in our list example in the previous video. If you have not checked that video before, you can click on the label on the top right of this video. Now we will look into the third example, which is to access the range of items in this particular tuple. Since our tuple is a really small one, I will add more keys here, maybe the address and then maybe the qualification. so that we could print a range of items from this particular tuple. So the syntax is going to be the same, the personal underscore data followed by the square brackets and then followed by the range of index that I need to print. So suppose I want to print it from the range 1 till the index 3, which means, so if it is 0, this is 1, this is 2 and this is 3, then it starts from 1, which is age, goes till third, which is qualification, and do not print the third one, which means it should ideally print age and address. So let's put it inside a print block and see what the output is. So as expected, you can see that the output is age and qualification, which is a tuple here. Now I will move on to the next example, which is to print the length of the tuple. To do that, I will put the print statement here followed by the personal data, and then to get the length I have to use the len function, and if I execute this, you can see 4, which means it has 4 items here. So name, age, address and qualification. If you notice, all these items are exactly the same as we did in our list tutorial. Now let's move on to the next step, which is one of the important step when it comes to tuple, and this is a major point that differentiates tuple and list. So let's see what happens when we try to add item to a tuple. So we have personal underscore data variable, which is our tuple, and if you remember from our list example how we added a new item, so I can do a append, and then I used to add a new key here. So this is how we used to add a new item to a list as per our previous examples. But in case of a tuple, let's see what happens if I try to do something like this. So if you look into my console output, you can see that there is an error which says attribute error, tuple object has no attribute append, which means we cannot add a new item to an existing tuple. So similarly, let's see what happens when I try to delete or remove an item from tuple. So personal underscore data dot pop and age maybe, and if I comment this one and then execute, you will see that the error appears again, which says attribute error, tuple object has no attribute pop, which means this is different from list and you cannot remove something from a tuple. Okay, I will also try to delete something from this tuple. So if you remember, the syntax was delete followed by personal underscore data and the key. I will comment the previous one because we know that already errors, and I will try to execute this file now. And you can see that the error again pops up which says tuple object does not support item deletion. Okay, so all these errors are coming up because of the property of the tuple that tuples are immutable. So now moving on to the next step, which is to see how we can check if an item is present in a tuple. So the syntax would be the key that we want to find followed by in followed by the variable that contains the tuple. So age in personal data should return a boolean value which is true or false, and if it returns true, that means age is present in personal underscore data, and if it returns false, that means age is not present in personal underscore data. To see this output in the console, I will put it inside the print statement. I will save it and execute this file, and you can see that the last output here says true, which means age is present in personal underscore data variable. And finally, we will see how we can merge two tuples together to form a third tuple. For that, I need to create another tuple variable, say for example personal underscore data 2, and I will create a tuple with some personal information. So I have created another tuple with 3 items in it, Anoop, test0 and test1. So what I want to do now is merge these two tuples, that is personal underscore data 2 and personal underscore data, and after merging I should get a new tuple which consists of all these values which is present in the first tuple as well as the items present in the second tuple. So let's see how we can do that. I will do personal underscore data plus personal underscore data 2. So when I merge these two together, I can do it using a plus symbol in between. And I can also define a new variable, say for example personal data 3. So personal data 3 will hold the value after combining personal data and personal data 2. Okay, so in order to see what is the value of personal data 3, now I have to put it inside the print block. So print followed by the brackets, and within those brackets we put the final merged tuple. So let's execute this and see the output. So in the console output you can see that the final tuple contains name, age, address, qualification, Anup, test0 and test1. So all our fields or the index values from the tuples are present in the final merged tuple, which means the merging happened successfully. So let's jump into the homework for today. What you have to do is you have to create two tuple. One is named as fields and the other one is named as values. And then the fields tuple should have the following items in it, which is name, age and gender. The values tuple should have the actual value for these fields. That means the name should have your name, age should have your age, gender should have your gender. So all these values goes to a different variable called values. Okay, so once you have created these two tuples, you have to create a third tuple of any name, and then you have to merge the first two tuple, which is the fields and the values, and once you have merged it, you have to put the value back to the third tuple. Okay, I hope this is clear. So just to make sure everything is clear to you, I'll just demonstrate it once. So you have to create tuple 3, which is equal to the fields plus values. Okay, so this is the final tuple that you have to create, and then finally you have to also print the values present inside this tuple after merging. So I hope this is clear, and I also hope that this tutorial was helpful to you and I made you understand one new concept in Python today. If you enjoyed watching this video today, then please go ahead and like this video, share it with your friends, and you may also comment with the feedback below. If you have not subscribed to this channel yet, please do it now so that you get notified once I upload my next video on Python tutorial for beginners. Thanks for watching this video and thanks for your time. Take care. Bye.